What's going on, everyone? I want to take a minute and dedicate a video to Darvin Ham because I really like how he has handled and approached this preseason, right? He gets a lot of slack. A lot of people really like to go after him for last season and blame him for all the losses and, talk some talk. I understand that people want a scapegoat. People want, to take up issue with somebody for losses or whatever, right? And I'm not saying Darvin Ham was a perfect coach. He had mistakes. He had his flaws. He learned from some, he didn't, and some he needs to improve on. It was his first year in a disaster of a season with essentially two different teams, and he still led them to the Western Conference Finals. I don't have a problem with people criticizing Darvin Ham. My issue is when people criticize him but give him zero credit. Right? So if it's his fault and he is responsible for the losses, then he deserves all the credit for the wins, right? Because if he's the only reason the Lakers lose, then he should be the only reason the Lakers win. Otherwise, if we want to hold everybody accountable, from the coach to the players, sure. But at what point does it fall on the players? Because I am somebody of the mind that you could have the best coach ever, have the best preparation, the best discipline, the best whatever you want to call it, play schemes, defensive schemes, offensive schemes, everything. At the end of the day, the players are the ones that are playing the game. It is up to them to execute, deliver, show up, right? Like the coach can only do so much and only go so far. I mean, Jason Kidd has talked about this where he said, I'm not the savior. I'm not the guy playing. I'm just the guy coaching. It's my job to put them and have them prepared. It's their job to execute. If they don't execute, that's on them. And that's my logic. Now, don't get me wrong. A coach can influence and make mistakes, not calling a timeout at a certain time or, just Darvin Ham at times doesn't like to leave the hot hand in, right? Or even just run plays to find the hot hand, right? We also saw one thing that drove me crazy was like Rui Hachimura, right? Like, why aren't we, like, the offense is stagnant. Why is he just standing off in the corner? Go put him in a position to have some success, right? Put him on the block, run some plays for him. Let's see what he can do offensively besides just stand in the corner. The guy has been great for us all playoffs. Like things like that. Or Anthony Davis. There's no reason he shouldn't see the basketball in the fourth quarter. Now, that's not solely on the coach, right? Anthony Davis needs to be more aggressive. He needs to be more assertive. Guys like LeBron, D'Lo, Reeves, whoever the ball handlers are, need to go and figure out a way to get the ball to him, but also as a coach, you should be screaming at your team to get AD the ball, right? So again, I'm not oblivious. I'm not saying he is completely without fault, but now he has zero excuses. He has a roster with plenty of talent, plenty of depth, plenty of versatility, plenty of size, plenty of shooting. I mean, it is a perfectly built roster for Darvin Ham and what he wants to do, right? But the reason I want to give him credit for this preseason so far is you're seeing him execute it beautifully, in my opinion, right? You're seeing him take the time to see what the starters can do, right? We've seen Anthony Davis, we've seen D'Lo, we've seen Reeves, we've seen LeBron, we've seen them all together. We saw them with Taurean Prince the last few games, Jared Vanderbilt early on. We've gotten some nice interchanges with some of the starters, with some of the bench guys, right? But he's keeping them minimal, right? The first game, he kind of just was a free-for-all, right? Like we even talked about, like the first game kind of was a lot of isolation, was just kind of like them playing street ball a little bit. I didn't have a problem with that, though. I even defended it, right? Talking about how, like, hey, I understand what Darvin Ham was wanting to do, right? Like, let the guys play. Let's see what they got. You don't have LeBron. You don't have Austin Reeves. So you don't have your two primary ball handlers. And then D'Lo only played like 15 minutes, right? So you basically, your three main ball handlers, your three main playmakers aren't even playing this game. So, let the other guys kind of get a feel. It's the first preseason game. Let them get their feet wet. Let them build a sweat. Let them get kind of, adjusted to the pacing and all that stuff of an NBA game. Best way to do that is just go out there raw, right? Just run out there. Go get a sweat. Jack up some shots, right? Like, I love that. And then the more that we've played, the more structure you've seen. You've seen more rotations. You've seen more plays and sets being ran. You're seeing more defensive schemes. You're seeing more stability on certain lineups. Guys kind of getting a little more time together, right? Darvin Ham, I think, has approached this beautifully. You're getting just enough of the starters for them to kind of pick up where they left off, but primarily you're spreading it out. Right? Like Christian Wood, I had a couple games where he played 20 minutes, and then last night he played 13 minutes. Let's get a little more of this lineup. Let's see how this looks. See what this unit looks like. Let's go with this positionless unit. Let's go with these, 3-guard guys. Let's go with this, right? Going about the experimentation. Not like, but also in the same breath, letting things breathe a little bit, right? Because that's the thing too. Like you'll see some coaches, they'll experiment with something and they'll do it for 2 or 3 minutes and then yank it out. And then they'll just never go back to it. And it's like, wait a minute, how do you know whether that was good or not? Let's say they were a plus 10 in those 3 minutes. That's great, but what happens in the next 3 minutes? What if by the time everything's done, they're a minus 20, right? Or let's say they were a minus 10. What if everything's done, they're a plus 20? Who knows what happens unless you let things kind of breathe a little bit. Darvin Ham, I've talked about it all offseason. He's going to have his work. He's going to earn his paycheck, right? But the question isn't him with players, right? He's an excellent player coach. He is an excellent communicator. He has the gift of gab. He has a great way of just kind of getting you to buy in and believe into whatever he is selling. He could be selling you snake oil and you're like, hey, sign me up for 2, right? Hey, buddy, come over here. Look, the guy just has a really good job. Look at what he did with even Russell Westbrook. I know that didn't work out, but no, for him to be able to kind of get Russell Westbrook to buy in and play defense and work hard. Dude, he's got D'Angelo Russell out here playing he's always been a defensive stopper, right? Christian Wood has looked good defensively. Everyone has talked about the communication of Darvin Ham. That's an asset. You need that, right? You've heard many players over the years talk about the lack of communication from a head coach. Christian Wood said that was his biggest problem in Dallas, right? There was no communication. There was no nothing. Right? You heard even John Collins throw Atlanta under the bus about egos and stuff like that. Darvin Ham seems like he's done a good job so far of managing egos. Right? Again, he had Russell Westbrook, Patrick Beverley, LeBron James, right? He was able to kind of keep that sinking ship afloat until we were able to, plug the holes, and we almost hit land. Right? We fell a little short. Right? But luckily everyone was able to jump ship and get a new ship, and now this ship is ready to go. And we have land in sight and we're ready to go. Right? And because again, we're praising the players. We're praising what we're seeing from the players. I love what we're seeing from the players, right? Taurean Prince has really kind of came into his own. Max Christie has shown some real flashes, some real promises. The starting guys look like they're championship ready. You have Christian Wood finally coming into his, right? Rui has just been fantastic, right? Gabe Vincent has even had himself a couple games, right? You're seeing the players, and you absolutely need to compliment the players, because again, the players are the ones that are playing the game, right? But what does the coaching look like, right? Because again, coaching does matter. Let's not pretend coaching doesn't matter. Again, that's why I don't mind when people are critical of the coach, but we have to put it in perspective, right? I don't mind when people criticize the head coach. I don't mind when people criticize Darvin Ham. If he messed up, I've criticized Darvin Ham, right? Because, if he makes a mistake, just like a player, I criticize LeBron James. People get on me about criticizing LeBron James, but he's not above criticism. I've said publicly that I believe he's the greatest player to ever play the game. He should be held to that standard. I don't care that he's 21 or year 21, age 39. He's still playing like a top 10 player. He should be held to that standard. If he was out there just if he was Vince Carter in his year 20, then I probably wouldn't hold him to as high of a standard, right? But he's not. He's literally being paid max money to be a superstar. He still is coming off of a 38-8 year. So what, we're supposed to just pretend like he's, like when he goes 0-7 from 3, like that's a good thing? No. He deserves credit. If he shoots us out of a game this season, I'm going to be on his helmet, just like I will be about everybody. Right? Like, but at the same time, I also have defended LeBron. I have defended Russell Westbrook, right? To my detriment at times. Because again, it's not about one, like you don't lose because of one play or one person or one coach or one whatever. But coaching does still matter. Coaching is still very important, right? You need guys prepared. They're the ones that are in charge of the timeouts and the rotations and stuff, right? Like even something as simple as calling a timeout, right? What was it, the third quarter with like 1.1 seconds left, and there was all that confusion and stuff. And, in that moment, that might have looked very silly. That was great. And it didn't work out, right? It ended up being a broken play or whatever. But that's what preseason is about. Experimenting. Because that's going to be a situation, or very likely. There's going to be a point, whether it's the end of the game, end of the half, the end of the quarter, where there's 1.1 seconds left, or 1 second left, or maybe 2 seconds left, where you need to get a play off. Why wouldn't you practice that? I love what we are seeing from Darvin Ham this preseason. I love what we're seeing from the players. I love what this team is doing. I also love the coaching. I think the coaching has been fantastic so far. I hope that all the players translate into the regular season, and I hope the coaching translates in the regular season. I don't expect anyone to be perfect, though. Right? Darvin Ham is probably going to have some blunders still. Phil Jackson has had blunders. John Wooden has had blunders. Like, everybody has blunders in every sport. Nick Saban has had blunders. Like, everybody has bad moments, bad plays, bad whatever. Just like players. Like, I don't expect the players to be perfect. Right? LeBron's going to have bad moments. LeBron's going to have a turnover that's going to cost us a game. Whatever. Right? I'm not going to hold somebody accountable for stuff like that. Right? But the patterns, like what is it consistently? Darvin Ham did an excellent job. He made changes. He fixed things. He greatly outcoached Steve Kerr and many others on his quest. And many people put Steve Kerr up there as, a top 3 coach in the league. Darvin Ham was considered, many people were ready to have him, out the door. Right? I just, if we're going to credit the players, I want to credit the coaching staff too, because I feel like that's something that really goes under the radar and something that doesn't really get talked about enough. The coaches don't get enough credit for their part of the success. And I think Darvin Ham's doing a great job so far. And I hope that continues, and I hope that we go get number 18, because I believe we will. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. How do you feel? What do you think? Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? What do you think of Darvin Ham so far? Love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below.